Devaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nashprayesha Bhatreshu Nityam Bhagavate Devaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Nashtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Pashatade Shatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gautase Namaha Vanchikalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityahananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, thank you all for joining in. We are resuming our discussion from fourth canto, chapter number 29, titled as Talks Between Narada and King Prachani Bharishad. So, the king had asked the question in text number 59, if the body is a source of karma, and if we have already given up the body, then why should we get the reaction of it? How do we get the reaction of it and the following life? From verses 60 to 79, Nadmani spoke about the subject matter, and now text number 79 onwards. Uh, let's take a look at. So, what's going to happen now? Uh, in short, just to summarize the discussion quickly, and then move forward to a very important topic, which is in the next chapter. So now Prachani Parishad becomes enlightened, he's convinced, and he decides to leave the kingdom. Although the Prachetas, his son, have not yet come back, he doesn't wait for them, and he leaves the kingdom. Before he leaves, Narmadi leaves. Narmadi, after this verse, would leave, written back. And right after that, Prachani Parishad leaves, and Prachetas have not yet come back. That's how the storyline goes on. And then finally, the conclusion, or finally, the last few verses, the Falashruti, the one who recites or hears this pastime, what are the results they'll get? And then with this whole episode of King Prachani Parishad concludes. Then chapter number 30 begins with where Vidurji is curious to know, okay, the father have gone back, but what happened to the sons? Hey, Maitrimani, you did spoke about Prachetas, but we kind of changed the course of our conversation. We started talking about Prachani Parishad. So last, what you told me about Prachetas was Prachetas had met Lord Shiva and they heard Rudra Gita. So what happened to them? Of course, I understand they might have gone back home, back to Godhead eventually, but did they got any results or any benedictions for their life in this world? So please let me know, what did they do after meeting with Lord Shiva and before going back home, back to Godhead? So then that's where this becomes very beautiful. In the next chapter, then Maitreya begins to speak. Yes, after meeting with Lord Shiva, they continued their tapasya for 10,000 years. And after that, Lord Vishnu, being pleased, appeared to them. Just like in this chapter, just today morning, I was just reflecting when I was quickly looking at the verses. Maybe rather than going in details of the whole chapter, we can just spend time with the particular theme of the chapter. So next chapter has a very important theme where Lord is instructing the Prachetas and is giving them the reason what pleased me. Was it their 10,000 years of sacrifice? No, not that. So what pleased me is something very important for all of us to know. All right, let's take a look at text number 79. I will then jump to that section. Fourth canto, 29th chapter, verse number 79. This is a conclusion. Nadmani concludes. अतस्तद अपवादार्थम भज सर्वात्मना हरिम् पश्यंस्तदात्मकं विश्वम् स्थिति उत्पत्ति अप्यया यतः अतस्तद अपवादार्थम भज सर्वात्मना हरिम् पश्यंस्तदात्मकं विश्वम् स्थिति उत्पत्ति अप्यया यतः अतस्तत् अपवादार्थम् भज सर्वात्मना हरिम् पश्यंस्तदात्मकं विश्वम् स्थिति उत्पत्ति अप्यया यतः अतः therefore tat that apavadartham to counteract bhaj to engage in devotional service sarvatmanaha with all your senses harim unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Pashyan seeing tat of the Lord Atmakam under the control Vishwam the cosmic manifestation Sthiti maintenance Utpatti creation Apyaha annihilation Yataha from whom translation purport is by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. You should always know that this cosmic manifestation is created, maintained, and annihilated by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, everything within this cosmic manifestation is under the control of the Lord. This is the last two lines of the verse. Pashyams tad atmakam vishwam siti utpatti apyaya yataha. So Prabhupada is first translating the last two lines of the verse. Consequently, everything within this manifestation is under the control of the Lord. Now, to be enlightened by this perfect knowledge, one should always engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord. Bhaja sarvat manahari. Atastad apavadhartam. Sounds similar to something else in Bhagavad Gita? Something similar. Lord is a controller, originator of everything. Yes, 10th chapter, verse number 8. Who remembers? Everyone knows? Loudly. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matah sarvam pavartate iti matva bhajante mam. What is the last line? Buddha Bhava, Uddha, you all sounded. I got confused what you were saying. Buddha Bhava Samanvitaha. So, Aham Sarvasya Prabhu Mataha Sarvam Pavartate. So, here are the last two lines of that. Iti Matva Bhajante Ma. One who knows the truth about me, what he does, engages in devotional service. Buddha Bhava Samanvitaha. What Buddha refers to intelligent person like that. So, this is the conclusion by Narad Muni. Text number 80. Maitrivacha Bhagavata Mukhayo Bhagavan
Bhagavata Mukhayo
Narado
Bhagavan
Hamsayorgatim
Narado Hamsayorgati
Pradashyahi Amun Amantrya
Pradashyayam
Siddhalokam Tato Gamat.
Siddharokam Sadokam.
So Matthew says, so what did Nada do after this? The great sage Matthew continued, the supreme devotee, the great saint Nada, thus explained to King Prachani Bharhi the constitutional position of the Lord and the living entity. After giving an invitation to the king, Nadamani left to return to Siddha Loka. So if you're curious about where these planets are, right after this canto, we'll giving you exact what it says, latitudes and longitudes, of which planet is where. Fifth canto. You'll enjoy that. Okay, so text number 81 stories continues. Matthew says, what did the king do? प्रचनिबर्हि राजर्षि प्रजा सर्गाभिरक्षणे आदिश्य पुत्रानगम तपसे कपिलाश्रमम्. In the presence of his ministers, the saintly king Prachanibhari left orders for his sons to protect the citizens. He then left home and went off to undergo austerities in a holy place known as Kapil Ashrama. So he didn't wait for his sons to return back, he left. And this is another repeated theme. When it comes to taking shelter of the Lord, it's shown through the pages of Bhagavatam. Person does not wait. He does. I mean, what I'm trying to make a point here is just prior to this section we were reading how the mind is always planning. Planning for what? Let me make my present better, then I'll move on. There's always one of the thought. बस थोड़ी सी परेशानी रहेगी जीवन में आज मैं उसको सुधार लेता हूँ बस फिर आगे सेटल हो जाएगा. If you talk to people generally, why do they delay taking to bhakti? बस थोड़ा सा मुझे मेहनत करने दो, थोड़ा सा मैं पैसा कमा लूँ या मैं थोड़ा सा कर लेता हूँ फिर करूँगा. Or let's say, why not people are spending time to read Prabhupada books or devotees even? Prabhuji, just let me struggle for some more time. Once I become the manager, then I'll have all the time in the world to read Prabhupada books. Ask a manager, he'll tell you how much actually you have after becoming. But jokes apart. But the point is, mind is always preparing like this. Uh, Look at something internally have changed within Prachanibhari. Who otherwise would have planned like that? Right now, the sons have not even come back. Why leave Praja into a dilemma? Why leave into complexity? Okay, I have to renounce. Let's wait for some more time to, let my sons come back. Then I will renounce. How many say this is a fair enough proposal? भाई आपको renounce ही करना है ना? Renounce करो, like parents many times says. Well, if you want to join ashram, then why join that far off ashram? Join right next to your home. Stay in home. Go to temple. No problem. But you see, people don't agree at that point of time. Here, Prachini Bharati also, he said, nothing doing because I don't know what's going to happen next morning. Would I be there or not there? I've understood. It's time for me to quit. So when a person decides to quit, he cannot wait for anything. A person desires to quit material life to join ashram, he will not wait for anything. Similarly, once a person in ashram decides to quit, he will not spend extra night in the ashram. This is how this aspect of quit works. For him, either of the situation will become insurmountable or difficult. Okay. All right. Prabhupada writes to the last paragraph of the purport. Please read Prabhupada quotes Sridhar Swami. Why Kapilashram? Pastor Mike, go ahead.
Sridhar Swami informs us that Kapil Ashrama is located at the confluence of Ganges and Bay of Bengal, a place known now as Ganga Sagar. This place is still famous as a place of pilgrimage, and millions of people gather there every year on the day of Makar Sankranti and take bath. It is called Kapil Ashrama because of Lord Kapila's living there to perform his austerity and penances. Lord Kapila propounded the Sankhya system of philosophy.
Text number 82. तत्रैकाग्रमनाधीरो गोविन्दाचरणाम्बुजम् विमुक्तसङ्गो अनुभजन् भक्त्या तस्साम्यतामगा. Having undergone austerities and penances at Kapilashram, King Prachinibhari attained full liberation from all material designations. He constantly engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord and attained a spiritual position qualitatively equal to that of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which means he attained the same body as the Lord, 400 form. Purport, that's the first few lines. Please read the first few lines of the purport.
There is special significance in the word tat,
Samyatam agat.
which indicate that the king attained the position of possessing the same status or the same form as that of the Lord. This definitely proves that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always a person. In his
All right. So that's the point. He attained the same body as the Lord. Text number 83. Etadadhyatma paroksham Etam deva shiranagah
Itam devarshinaanaga
Yashavayat ya shrunuya
Yashavayadya shrunuya
Salingena vimuchyate.
Karingena mumuchyate.
So now this pastime concludes. My dear Vidura, one who hears this narration concerning the understanding of the living entity's spiritual existence as described by the great sage Narada, or who relates it to others, will be liberated from the bodily conception of life. So, if I ask you, what precisely was described by Narad Muni to Raja Bharishat? Or let's map it to Gita. I always like to say this: Gita gives you concepts, Bhagavatam gives you explanation of those concepts. So, with what concept of Gita can you map up this whole story that Narad Muni had narrated to King Bharishat? You're not the body, but the soul. Okay. So, it was about the journey of a living entity in this world. So, if you look at, there are three concepts. First, when Krishna says in the 8th chapter describing the nature of material world, there's some sound coming from somewhere. We can close the door. That's okay, we can close the door. Brahma bhavana loka punar avartano arjuna. So 8.15 and 16, Krishna speaks about it. From the topmost planet to the lower planets, there's all places of rebirth. You know, you have to keep on taking birth again and again. So our king Puranjan, he had to take a birth again. So that's a concept. Of course, the body, but spirit, soul, and also the concept of what is your relationship with the Lord. Well, what is your relationship with the Lord has not been highlighted. It's spoken about that, how you can attain. So two concepts we can say. Journey of the soul has been described in this story. One is the Sankhya Yoga, verse number 11 to 30. That whole thing has been described. How a person takes birth again, then how he suffers in this world has been described. Okay. All right. I mean, if you can just memorize this whole story, if you can just read it a few times and memorize, then that subject matter, about 11th verse to 30th was in second chapter, Krishna is speaking about it, we'll be able to understand better in context from the story. Okay, so text number 84, Falashruti comes. Before Falashruti comes, I would like to give one more episode in this, which we had not discussed, verses 52 to 55. There was another very interesting short story, allegory, which was made by Narad Muni, which really affected the king. And that was the story of a deer. Text number 52 of the same chapter. 52 to 55 is a short story. Let's read it out. Text number 52 translation. Let's read the verse and then we'll do the translation. Narada Vacha Naivam hi sanchinno
Sanchinno
Bhavataha Purusha Shabhe भवतः पुरुषर्षभा मे वदतो गुह्यम् निशामया सुनिश्चितम्. So Nathmuni decided to quote another allegory here, despite talking about the whole story of Puranjana, because he felt the king is still not convinced. And this was the final, what is it, no? The punch, after which he became convinced. The great sage Narada continued, "Oh, great personality, I have replied properly about all that you have asked me. Now, hear another narration that is accepted by saintly persons and is very confidential." So, let's read the purport. Very nice purport. Proper summarizes here. Somebody would like to read it loudly?
Shri Narad Muni was personally acting as a spiritual master of King Barishman.
Same. Prachini Bhari, Bharishad, Bharisman. These are different names. एक का भी था ना टिंकू पिंकू चिंकू, तो उसी प्रकार से अलग नाम है उसको. इतना क्यों परेशान हो रहे हो?
It was Narad Muni's intention that through his instruction, the king would immediately give up all engagement in fruitive activity and take to devotional service. However, although the king understood everything, he was still not prepared to give up his engagements.
So he was still not willing to take to Vanaprastha. So this story was the one which inspired him. That's the point. Go ahead.
As the following verses will show, the king was contemplating sending for his sons who were away from home executing austerities and penances. After their return, he would entrust his kingdom.
So he understood what to do, but he was thinking, "Itni bhi jaldi kya hai?" As I started my discussion, that what happened suddenly? He decided to quit. He didn't wait for his sons also. So he was thinking, "Okay, Nadmani, thank you for all this enlightenment. Let my sons come back." And Nadmani was thinking, "अरे तब तक वेट नहीं कर सकते, ये मन बदल जाएगा. अभी लोहा गर्म है, पकड़ लो अभी." So then he said, "Let me tell you another story." So that's how the story comes. Okay, go ahead.
This is the position of most people. They accept a bona fide spiritual master.
Okay, so Prabhupada is talking about how this happens. So read the last few lines. According to all the instructions of the Vedas.
According to all the instructions of the Vedas, we can understand that unless one takes to Krishna consciousness and devotional service, he is simply wasting his time engaging in the fruitive activities of material existence. Narad Muni therefore decided to relate another allegory to the king so that he might be induced to give up family life within material existence.
So this is a story which speeded up his renunciation. Text number 53. So the storyline begins. "My dear king, please search out the deer who is engaged in eating grass in a very nice flower garden along with his wife. That deer is very much attached to his business." The deer refers to the king here. It's about his life. "He is enjoying the sweet singing of the bumblebees in his garden, which refers to the sound of his family member. Just try to understand his position. He is unaware that before him is a tiger, which can be compared to time, you know, just waiting to pounce on him, which is accustomed to living at the cost of another's flesh. Behind the deer is a hunter who is threatening to pierce him with sharp arrows. Thus, the deer's death is imminent." So, that is a point here. So, hey, king, you are thinking that you will live for long. You don't know. There is a death in front, there is a death behind you. Who you can't run forward, you can't run backward. There's nothing to hide. And they all are looking at you to kill you. So you can die at any point in time. Text number 54. "My dear king, who is very attractive in the beginning, but in the end very disturbing, is exactly like the flower, which is attractive in the beginning and detestable at the end. With woman, the living entity is entangled with lusty desires and enjoys sex just as one enjoys the aroma of a flower. He thus enjoys a life of sense gratification from his tongue to his genitals, and in this way, the living entity considers himself very happy in family life. United with his wife, he always remains absorbed in such thoughts. He feels great pleasure in hearing the talks of his wife and children, which are like the sweet humming of bumblebees that collect honey from flower to flower. He forgets that before him is time, represented as tiger, which is taking away his lifespan with the passing of day and night. He does not see the gradual diminishing of his life, nor does he care about the superintendent of death who is trying to kill him from behind. So, hunter is Yamraj or Yamdutas. Just try to understand this. You are in a precarious position and are threatened from all sides. Text number 55. 55, yeah. My dear king, just try to understand the allegorical position of the deer by fully conscious of yourself. Be fully conscious of yourself. Give up the pleasure of hearing about promotion to the heavens. Give up house or life as well as stories about such things and take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the mercy of the liberated souls. In this way, please give up your attraction for material existence. So, question can be asked: is Narad Muni artificially trying to induce renunciation in Prachini Bharishad, or else prematurely? The greatest challenges to the path of renunciation where people have concern is either it is done artificially, where the person says, Are unless that person fulfills his dharma, artha, kama, he will not aspire for moksha. You will hear this statement from your grandmother particularly. And those who are coming from previous generation, they say, बच्चे पहले अपने धर्म अर्थ काम को तो पूरा कर लो तभी मोक्ष की इच्छा आएगी or else before time, artificially or prematurely. So what would you like to say? Is Nad Muni doing that? How do you look at Nad Muni speaking and urging the king, give up your family life, give up your all responsibilities, quit, don't wait. How do you look at it? Because this section can be frightening for some. Imagine if we read out this section and there is a new married couple sitting there. What an anxiety the wife will be having. Bhagavatam looks like, or let's say a new audience is sitting there. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks contrary, where Arjuna actually wanted to give up, and Krishna is saying no. And Krishna's best devotee Narad Muni is coming and telling Prachanivari, give up now. Apparently giving a contradictory. Narad Muni is, he's speaking whose message? Krishna or whose? It doesn't look like. What is your thought on it? Mike Kaushal.
Prabhuji, Prachini he looks to be like, in that stage of Vanaprastha. So now it is time for him to leave. It's
How does he looks like?
I mean, he has all the kids grown up. And,
Yeah. Matter of fact is, he already have grown up kids. We read about it. They're of the marriageable age, which he already asked them to go and perform tapasya. So as such, his family responsibilities have been already taken care. Nadmuni is not asking a young couple to do that. No, he's already grown up. His sons are grown up. There is a whole system in place to take care of the kingdom, take care of his wife, take care of all his family members. So now, when you have performed your family responsibility, being the father, being the king, or whatnot, now at least move on. And traditionally, the idea is when the sons grows up, they take care of the family. The father is supposed to renounce. That's the idea which is going on here. Thank you for bringing that point. Text number 84. Let's resume. And now Falashruti. So can somebody read out the translations? Text number 84 onward. This narration spoken by the great sage Nada is full of the transcendental fame of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, this narration, when described, certainly sanctifies this material world. It purifies the heart of the living entity and helps him attain his spiritual identity. One who relates this transcendental narration will be liberated from all material bondage. I will no longer have to wander within this matrix. So just taking forward from Kaushal Bhu's question, then somebody may say, well, then Arjuna also had grown up sons. If Arjuna had chosen to renounce, what was the problem? Abhimanyu was already 16 plus. So then why Krishna said no to Arjuna? Where Krishna's disciple Nada is saying, Parchani Varishad, chale jao. What would you like to say for that? If the idea is, if you have a grown-up sons, and if there is somebody to take care, in case of Arjuna, he was not supposed to be the king either. It was Yudhishthira who was supposed to. So if imagine Arjuna could have left, kingdom would still be taken care by Yudhishthira. So why did Krishna said no to Arjuna? If that's the logic, what is your thought?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandasana. Can I try?
Yes, mother. You can always try as long as we can understand you. If your voice is clear. A little volume, please. Yes, mother. Please try. Your
So the
thoughts.
purpose of, so there's a difference in the purpose. So Arjuna was becoming a Nimitta Matra for Krishna to give Bhagavad Gita to all of us, to all the conditioned souls. So the purpose was to teach all the living entities through Arjuna, and that was the reason the guidance was given like that. That's my understanding.
Okay, thank you for that. Anything else?
Krishna Prabhuji, Govindas.
Who is speaking? Apu Govindu, yes. Please go ahead.
Prabhuji, in case of Arjuna, he was basically attached to not performing his duty, and on the other hand, the Prachinivari, he has attachment to on the opposite side basically. So that's why both things are not. They can bind us to this material world. So that's why the instruction was as per
Okay,
context.
fine. Anything else?
Prabhuji, can I say?
Yeah, who is speaking with the Shama Vallavi? Please go ahead.
So, Prabhuji, actually, Arjuna had not performed his occupational duties yet because, if you see, he was never there as, he had never performed it. And that was the whole reason why Krishna encouraged him, because if he did not perform his occupational duties well, then he would have infamy and, it would not be good on his part. He had not been as a warrior, he had not lived as a warrior before.
He has not lived as a warrior. So many fights he had fought. He had fought on behalf of Indra. He had single-handedly defeated the whole Kauravas at Viratadesh.
That is why
That's
even
not
Krishna
correct.
asked Duryodhan to give 5 kingdoms so that they can at least perform their occupational duties. So, they had not performed their occupational duties also.
Okay, thank you for that. My humble take is he was right in the middle of performing his duty, and his performance of duty would have determined the future of Bharat. Yudhishthira winning the war depended a lot on Arjuna by his side. And that means determining the future of Bharat. Now, Puranjana or Prachini Parishad, his presence or no presence would not have made any difference. It's not that if he would have left now, if Nagmani is saying quit, then suddenly the demonic class would have become more stronger, or the whole kingdom would have got destroyed, or Varnashrama Dharma would have been defeated. Nothing like that. But if Arjuna would have quit, Krishna was by the side of Arjuna. So probably Krishna would have also left. This is anyways extension of the idea. But the idea is if Arjuna would have left, then how Yudhishthira would have carried out his duty? Because Yudhishthira was dependent on Arjuna. So Arjuna's dependency was not yet over. And that was not the situation with the Prachani Parishad. So the point is, if a person is still have dependencies, he not to be encouraged to take to the path of renunciation. He has to perform his duty first. Because Arjuna had those dependencies after completing. For example, let's say Yudhishthira Maharaj becomes a king. And now Arjuna goes to Krishna, my dear Lord. Can I take to the path of renunciation? Then I believe Krishna would not have stopped. But it never happened. So we don't know what exactly, it never happened after the war. But if it would have happened after the war, probably Krishna would not have stopped. Getting the point? So even in Krishna consciousness, even in ISKCON, there are young people who wants to join, or sometimes they're encouraged to join. But one thing has to be taken in consideration. If they have any dependency, let's say the sister needs to get married, or the parents depend on them financially, those things have to be taken care. Otherwise, it will cause havoc in their life and in the society in general. So they are not contradictory, but that's a baseline. All right. Text number 85. Translation, please.
The allegory of King Puranjan, described herein according to authority, was heard by me from my spiritual master, and it is full of spiritual knowledge. If one can understand the purpose of this allegory, he will certainly be relieved from the bodily conception and will clearly understand life after death. Although one may not understand what transmigration of soul actually is, one can fully understand it by studying this narration.
Prabhupada have not touched upon that word, but there's an interesting word in the in the shloka. Anyways, that you can take out. Evam striyashramaha pumsas. Anyways, ठीक है. We'll just continue. Special note: according to Vijay Dhwaj Tita, who belongs to the Madhvacharya Sampradaya, the first two of the following verses appear after verse 45 this chapter, and the remaining two verses appear after verse 79. Okay, let's read the translation of remaining verses. Continue, translation.
This one,
Yeah,
182. A desire to maintain body, wife, and children is also observed in animal society. The animals have full intelligence to manage such affairs. If a human being is simply advanced in this respect, what is the difference between him and an animal? One should be very careful to understand that this human life is attained after many, many births in the evolutionary process. A learned man who gives up the bodily conception of life, both gross and subtle, will, by the enlightenment of spiritual knowledge, become a prominent individual spirit soul, as the Supreme Lord is also.
All right, so there are total this 2A, 2B, 1A, 2A. There are four verses which Prabhupada is quoting here, which actually two verses come before the deer analogy, and the last two verses they come after the 79th verse. Anyway, so this we have discussed. We can just quickly read out the translation. We'll come to the next chapter. So 1B, if a living entity is developed in Krishna consciousness and is merciful to others, and if his spiritual knowledge of self-realization is perfect, he will immediately attain liberation. Everything happening within time, which consists of past, present, future, is merely a dream. That is a secret understanding in all Vedic literatures. Thus, end the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the fourth canto, 29th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Talks Between Narada and King Prachinibari. All right, let's come forward. Chapter number 30, and very important chapter. So Vidurji is having originally conversation with Maitrimani. Vidurvacha ye tvaya abhita brahman suta prachini bharishaha te rudragitena haran Siddhimapu pratosoyakam. So what happens to Prachetas? My dear matrimony, we went into the story of their father, but I would like to know what happened to Pracheta after they met Lord Shiva and they heard Rudra Gita, text number 2. My dear Bahraspatya, this is Maitreya's disciple of Brahaspati, so that's how. What did the sons of King Barishad, means Prachetas, known as Pracheta, obtain after meeting Lord Shiva? Was very dear to the Lord, the bestower of liberation. Certainly they were transferred to the spiritual world, but apart from that, what did they do in the material world till the time they were living, or what did they obtain in the material world? Text number 3. The great sage Maitreya said, Maitreya Vacha Sacheta Shuvanta Udadao Pituradeshakarinaha Jap Yagnena Tapasa Puranjanam Atoshayan. The great sage Maitreya said, the sons of King Prachinibari, known as the Prachetas, underwent severe austerities within the sea water to carry on the order. By chanting and repeating the mantras given by Lord Shiva, they were able to satisfy Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So after meeting Lord Shiva, they continued to perform their tapasya for 10,000 years. Text number 4 talks about that. At the end of the 10,000 years of severe austerities performed by the Prachetas, the Lord, to reward their austerities, appeared before them in His very pleasing form. This appealed to the Prachetas and satisfied the labor of their austerities. Text number 5. The personality of Godhead appearing on the shoulder of Garuda seemed like a cloud resting on the summit of the mountains known as Meru. The transcendental body of the personality of Godhead was covered by attractive yellow garments. His neck was decorated with a jewel known as Kaustava. The bodily effulgence of the Lord dissipated all the darkness of the universe. Text number 6, description about the beautiful form of the Lord. The Lord's face was very beautiful, and his head was decorated with a shining helmet and golden ornaments. The helmet was dazzling and was very beautifully situated on his head. The Lord had 8 arms, with which each held a particular weapon. The Lord was surrounded by devatas, great sages, and other associates. These are all engaged in his service. Garuda, the carrier of the Lord, glorified the Lord with Vedic hymns by flapping his wings. Garuda appeared to be an inhabitant of the planet known as Kinnara Loka. I'm just rushing through it. It's a storyline. You can read the purport. I want to come to what Lord said. Text number 7. Around the neck of the Lord hung a flower garland that reached to his knees. His 8 stout and elongated arms were decorated with the garland, which challenged the beauty of the goddess of fortune. With a merciful glance and a voice like thunder, the Lord addressed the sons of King Prachali, who were very much surrendered unto him. And now comes text number 8 onwards. So I'll recite the verse and please keep the mic ready. Some of you, or one of you can read the translations. So make it fast and then we'll discuss the verse. Very important section now. So these are the verses spoken by the Lord, not something ordinary. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Varam Varnidhvam Bhadram Vo Divyam Me Napanandanaha Sauhadena Pratatharma Tushtoham Sahardena Vaha. I'm not doing it today. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. We can draw the parallels or the words spoken by here to the Prachetas. And similarly, when the Lord had appeared to Prathu Maharaj and Lord wanted to leave, but then Lord decided to stay. And then Lord gives a reason why I decided to stay for you, Prathu Maharaj. And then Prathu Maharaj speaks. That section, this section is almost similar. There, Prathu Maharaj was in conflict with Indra. So Lord said, because Prathu Maharaj, because of your friendly disposition towards other Vaishnavas, have pleased my heart. Therefore, I'm willing to stay forward. Similarly, text number 8, look at this. Let's take a look at word to word. Shri Bhagavan Vacha, the personality of God said, Varam, Ashirvad, benediction. Varnidhvam, ask. Bhadram, good fortune. So remember, we had a very long extended discussion. Same thing Lord told to Prathuma, ask benediction. I was talking about, can you imagine, we ask benediction to the Lord, and Lord is saying, ask benediction. So what Prathu did that pleased the Lord so much, the Lord is requesting, please ask for benediction. Varam, Varam, benediction, Varnidhvam, Bhadram, good fortune. Vaha, of you. You. May, from me. Please ask for a benediction. May you have a good fortune. Ask from me. Narpanandana, O sons of the king. Sahadena. Now Lord will say, what actually attracted me? Sahadena, by friendship. Apratak, non-different. Dharmaha, occupation. Tushtaha, please. Aham, I. Sahadena, by friendship. Raha, of you. Please read the translation.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear sons of the King, I am very much pleased by the friendly relationship among you. All of you are engaged in one occupation, devotional service. I am so pleased with your mutual friendship that I wish you all good fortune. Now you may ask a benediction of me.
All right, so there are around 10 verses. Let's give a title for it, or just to memorize these things, or the lesson, whichever you want to call it. So this verse talks about unity in Krishna consciousness. What pleases the Lord most? Unity in Krishna consciousness. So, three things have been highlighted in this verse. The Lord was pleased because Sohardena, they had friendly relationships among themselves. What was the last instruction of Srila Prabhupada? Your love for me would be shown by how you cooperate. And why did Prabhupada emphasize? Because in the present day and time, it's the most difficult thing to do. Second thing is apratak. They were engaged in one occupation, devotional service. And third, the unity. What was the basis of unity? The unity was based on serving Krishna, not personal ambition. That's an extension of apratak dharma. Their unity was based not on personal ambition but serving Krishna. And Prabhupada highlights in the purport, Prabhupada speaks in the purport about United Nations. Prabhupada says in the United Nations, for instance, all the nations have their particular national ambitions. And consequently, they can never be united. It is only the name, United Nations. Material unity always fails because everyone has different selfish interests. Whereas spiritual unity succeeds because everyone shares the same goal, that is pleasing Krishna. So that brings a very important point. I'm just summarizing the important point for the purpose. So does it mean there is no disunity in the spiritual world, or there is no disunity within the Vaishnavas? Does it mean there is complete harmony within the members of ISKCON? It doesn't look like. It's never the case. There's always conflict. There's always different opinion. There's so much FDG issues going around and whatnot, guru issue and everything. So Prabhupada says three things what it means. Actually, first Prabhupada says, actually in Krishna consciousness, let me find out this directly. You can see the Prabhupada leader. Actually, in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be two opinions. There's only one goal to serve Krishna to one's best ability. If there is some disagreement over service, such disagreement is to be taken as spiritual. Kashyap, you'll remember this from the letters. This was one of the famous statements Prabhupada would often write. Remember we read the letters of Prabhupada, so like this. So three things in terms of application about if in case we see disunity, even in devotees, what it means. Disagreements about how to serve Krishna are spiritual disagreements. Second, disagreements based on ego, position, or personal ambition are material. So there is always going to be difference of opinion. Prabhupada have clarified many times. The reason is because we are individuals. Because individuality, there is going to be variegatedness. There are going to be difference of opinions. But in a spiritual society, if there is a difference of opinion, in context of how we can serve and please Krishna more, then it is spiritual disagreement. And there is a disagreement even between gopis in how to serve Krishna like that. Not only that, Prabhupada in one of the letters he mentioned, not only there is a disagreement sometimes between gopis how to serve Krishna, there are even flaws within gopis in their service to Krishna. How can there be a flaw in the spiritual world? So when Krishna, that Gopi Geet section that comes, when Krishna played his flute and the gopis heard the flute, they ran in whatever situation. Prabhupada said, they ran in so much hurry that they did not even put on dress properly. They put different parts of the dress in different parts of the body. If they were doing the makeup, they did it wrong because there was so much in excitement. And if externally, if you see, it would look like this is all faulty. But that exists in spiritual world, but there is a spiritual emotion behind it. And the third, so disagreement, the point of what you're saying, ask yourself, is my disagreement about serving Krishna better or about being right? There's a very famous statement by His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj. I believe it's not on the lecture, that was on the personal interaction. This is two devotees back in Vrindavan got into conflict. One was disciple of Maharaj, one was disciple of another Maharaj. And this devotee, who happens to be a god brother, was right. And he chastised this devotee. And because that Vaishnava who was senior he got offended. And then the issue reached to Maharaj. And then Maharaj called the devotee, and Maharaj said, so he was defending himself. Maharaj, I was right. I was right. Well, because he was wrong and I was right. And, he made a mistake. And then Prabhu Maharaj said, in Krishna consciousness, it is not important. I'm trying to paraphrase and recall that exactly. In Krishna consciousness, it is not important. It is not what matters, what is right. What is the second one? What matters? Huh? You might have heard of. I would have said this many times in the past. What is the second part of this? Somehow skipped my head.
Was it appropriate?
No. You don't add speculation. Just say what you remember, what I said. It'll come back to my mind. It's a very important thing. So Maharaj is emphasizing the point in Krishna consciousness, it is not important to pay attention who is right. You may be right, but that is not what important at this point of time. What is important is unity. So Maharaj was making the point in that direction. So that's the thing. Ask yourself, is my disagreement about serving Krishna better or about being right? What it means about being right is, it ties up to ego. Anyways, I don't go into details. We'll do the detailed discussion later on, but that's the idea. So is about serving Krishna. And serving Krishna better means unity is far better than being right. If we just let go of that incident, it's not so major, and it can keep the Vaishnava community together, then that is right. Not in terms of I am right, you're wrong. Okay, and the result of the real unity, this makes the Supreme Personality Godhead very happy and is willing to award all kinds of benedictions to his devotees. When devotees are generally united in service, Krishna immediately becomes ready to bless them. That's the idea. Text number 9. So text number 8 is what pleases Krishna is unity amongst the devotees, not our Sola Mala Nam Jap. It's just getting us started. Text number 9. Yo manusmarati sandhyaya yusmananudinam naraha tasya bhratrishatma samyam tata bhuteshu sauhridam. Please read.
The Lord continued, those who remember you every evening of every day will become friendly with their brothers and with all other living entities.
So such as an example set by you, Prachetas, and those who remember the example of Prachetas will not fight with each other. Text number 10. Ye tumarutra gitena sayam pratha samahitaha suvanti ham kamavara dasya prajna cha shobhana. So, Lord here is glorifying Lord Shiva for narrating Rudra Gita. And Prabhupada brings the point in the purport, following the acharyas, which means directly hearing from Krishna. If we are connected with Guru Parampara and if we are following the instructions of acharyas, it means we are directly hearing from the Lord. Translation, please.
Those who will offer me the prayers composed by Lord Shiva, both in the morning and in the evening, will be given benedictions by me. In this way, they can both fulfill their desires and attain good intelligence.
So you can see this in the middle of the purport, second paragraph. Prabhupada is speaking about it. That is the way of the parampara system. Second paragraph, fifth line.
This is the way of parampara system. If we follow the acharyas,
Lines before. In this verse, it is indicated.
In this verse, it is indicated that those who remember the activities of Prachetas, the sons of King Parachni will be delivered and blessed. So, what to speak of the sons of King Parachni who are directly connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead?
Not only Prachetas are getting benefited, if we recite will get benefited. Prabhupada, this is the way of the parampara system. If we follow the acharyas, we attain the same benefit as our predecessors. If one follows the decisions of Arjuna, he should be considered to be directly hearing Bhagavad Gita from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, therefore, this verse highlights hearing from Parampara, hearing from Acharyas means in direct union with the Lord. You are having a direct audience with the Lord. That's our focus here. Text number 11. Yadhyuyam pituradesham
यद्यूतं पितुरादेशं
grahishta mudanvitaha
मुदान्वितः
अथो वा उशति kete
उष्यति केते
lokananu bhavishyati.
लोकाननो भविष्यति.
So, which means when we are reading Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, it is as if Krishna is speaking to us directly. That is the import. That is the significance of this text number 10. Therefore, I'm giving you this kind of titles. So, if you remember these things, then it helps in our study of Prabhupada books. All right, text number 11, translation.
Because you have with pleasure accepted within your hearts the orders of your father and have executed those orders very faithfully, your attractive qualities will be celebrated all over the world.
So, this verse talks about obedience creates harmony or happiness, and obedience creates misery. So, one more reflection on the text number 10. Following the acharyas means directly hearing from the Lord. So, two things. When we read Prabhupada books, we are in direct touch with the Lord. Second, therefore, we should not speculate. We should not add our understanding. Imagine we can add our reflection understanding and say that this is my reflection understanding. But the idea is we should speak as it is. Otherwise, we'll dilute the message. That was both the sides of it. Now, text number 11 says, obedience creates happiness, disobedience creates misery. And this is the verse which answers why people in this world are suffering. Why people in this world are suffering? Because they have become disobedient. So, Lord is not responsible for our suffering. Who is responsible for the suffering? We are being a disobedient soul. That is the idea of this thing. Prabhupada writes about that. Look in the middle of the purport. Because of his minute independence, the fourth line, the living entity can obey or disobey the orders. If he obeys the Lord's order, he becomes happy. If he does not, he becomes unhappy. Therefore, the living entity creates his own happiness and unhappiness. So, this is a very important verses, directly spoken by the Lord, establishing this point. Text number 12. Bhavita Vishvataha Putru Navamo Brahmano Gunehe Ya Etam Atma Viryena Trilokem Puravishyati. Text number 12.
You will have a nice son who will be in no way inferior to Lord Brahma. Consequently, he will be very famous all over the universe, and the sons and grandsons generated by him will fill the three worlds.
So, text number 12, Lord is saying, a good son glorifies the whole family. This is the same thing as we see in the 7th canto. As Narasimhadev blessed Prahlad Maharaj, your hundreds of generations would be delivered because he have become a pure devotee. And here Lord is saying again, you will have a nice son who will be in no way inferior to Lord Brahma. Consequently, he'll be very famous all over the universe, and the sons and grandsons generated by him will fill the three worlds. By the way, who is the son of Prachetas? Daksha. 6th canto talks about it. No inferior to Lord Brahma, like that will be mentioned. So, a good son glorifies the whole family. And Prabhupada quotes Chanakya Pandit. You look in the middle of the purport, the 4th line, the great politician Chanakya, what he said, please read. Who is reading?
The great politician Chanakya said that if there is a good tree within a garden or forest, its flowers will fill the forest with their fragrance. Similarly, a good son within a family makes the whole family famous all over the world. Krishna took birth.
Prabhupada now gives an example. Like Lord Shri Krishna appeared in Yaduvamsha, Yaduvamsha became फेमस। यहाँ तक कि यादवास, हमारे जो नॉर्थ के यादव हैं, वो आज भी इस बात का फायदा उठाते हैं। हम कृष्ण के वंशज हैं और फिर बदमाशी करते हैं। Anyways, so two important points here. First, our devotional advancement doesn't just benefit us, it glorifies our entire family lineage. I'm particularly making this point. It's important to note. I do understand in the beginning when a person takes to bhakti, there's a lot of family crisis at times. The family members does not acknowledge it, does not accept it. At times there is, some conflict and whatnot. At times it can go on for years together. But tam stitikshva bharata, have patience. It will be resolved. And sooner or later, each one of them will say, we are so proud on our daughter or son because they choose or they took to the right path. In the beginning, it might seem so difficult like that. Classic example, Prahlad Maharaj and Hiranyakashipu. Till the last breath of his life, Hiranyakashipu could just never appreciate what Prahlad did to him. Yes or no? Or who was Prahlad? What was his activities? But at least after death, he would have appreciated when Prahlad prayed for his salvation. Yes or no? So in this life, or else in the next life, they'll definitely be pleased. And second thing, one sincere devotee can uplift generations. So at times when somebody asks me, I want to serve my parents, I always tell them, this is the best service that you can do. Because everything else, what you're going to do to them, would be just part of your karmic results or what the karma dictates to them. But you becoming a devotee and dedicating your life in the service of Guru and Gauranga, either in this life or in the next life, they will see the benefits and blessings of it. That is the best thing that we can do. All right, so I'll pause here. We'll continue text number 13 onwards. So let's quickly, I want everyone to memorize these things. So text number 10. So text number 8. What is the first thing Lord said to Prachetas? What have pleased me? The real unity among you have pleased me. And the lesson is unity within devotees, amongst devotees, attracts Lord's blessings. So somehow we can overcome our differences and stay united in the service of the Lord. Then we'll see whatever project initiative we take, it'll come to fruition very quickly. It'll come to its completion quickly. Text number 10. What Lord says in text number 10 then? Text number 9 and 10 is same thing. What does the Lord says in that? So hearing in parampara is hearing from the Lord. It's not different. So two things. First thing is when we're reading Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada's commentary is direct words of Lord to us. And second thing, how important, and it's a very important responsibility on us, not to add our imagination, speculation while we are conveying the message out to others. Don't dilute it. Text number 11. What was the message Lord said? So the theme is obedience creates harmony and disobedience creates suffering. So why people are suffering in this world? Is because of disobedience, not because the Lord wants people to suffer. In the Western theology, that's understanding. Lord wants you to be happy, you'll be happy. Lord wants you to suffer, you'll suffer. So, in other words, they effectively say you have no free will. That's the idea. No, it's our free will. Text number 12. What is the key message? Yeah, the text, lesson number 4. A good son glorifies the whole family. So if we have somebody take to Krishna consciousness, the whole dynasty becomes blessed. Example, Lord Shri Krishna taking birth in Yadu Vamsha have glorified the Yadu Vamsha for all the time to come. Prahlad Maharaj taking birth in Rakshasas clan glorified the Rakshasas clan, at least for that yuga. Not sure afterwards, at least for that yuga. And then Bali Maharaj, we had it. So that's the point. So I'll pause here. It's a very beautiful segment. We can mark this for Vrinda, this thing. I'll discuss details of it in Vrinda segment. Then we can have more churning. Right now, we're just doing quick overview. So, but for the next Vrinda group, we'll take this section. All right. Any comments, any reflections on today's discussion? So, a few things that we discussed, a quick recap. How did Prachini Barishad, he could have waited for his good sons to come back, but what inspired him to suddenly leave the kingdom immediately? And the answer is the story of deer. What was the story of deer? Hey, king, you're like a deer moving around in the garden, enjoying with the wife, hearing to the beautiful humming sound of the bees, which means your family members and whatnot. But a deer is oblivious to the fact that there is a tiger in front of him, which is Kala, and there is a hunter behind you, which means Yamdutas or Yamraj. And they both are, destroying your life. And you can be attacked at any point of time. So don't wait for the future to announce. Announce right now. Quit. Don't engage for them. That was the reason why he quit. And then we had raised an important question. But however, Lord Shri Krishna didn't want Arjuna to quit. And Krishna's disciple want Prachini Barishar to quit. Interestingly, both of them spoke to the king. So one is telling to a king not to quit. Other is telling the king to quit. So is Narad Muni is not following Krishna's instruction or what? So it is a context. It is not what position. Yes, they both may be king, but Arjuna was in a situation where he was in the middle of performing his duty. There was a lot of dependencies on him. In case of Prachini Parishad, he was free from all obligation because he had grown up sons, he had a stable kingdom, and there was no enemy lurking outside his kingdom's door where he had to defend against. In case of Arjuna, there were a lot of dependencies on him. Yudhishthira's victory depended on Arjuna. So therefore, at that point of time, to call it quit was not acceptable. If in case Arjuna, after winning the war, would have suggested, Lord, I'm thinking I want to quit, and in that case, if there was a different idea, then we could debate. But that never happened, so we don't know. So that's the whole idea about it. And then we saw about the falshruti of the story. And then we came to Prachetas, where Viduji asked, what happened to Prachetas? We know they went back home, back to Godhead, but what were their achievements in this world? It's a worthy question because as a devotee of the Lord, not only their next life is successful, even their material life is successful. They must have done something very great. So I'm curious to know what did they do. So then the story continued where Maitri Muni said, yes, after meeting Lord Shiva, they performed tapasya for 10,000 years. Lord became pleased and Lord came. So that's what we are discussing. We'll continue this rest of the instructions of the Lord, the statements of the Lord in tomorrow's meeting. Thank you all. Jagadaru Srila Prabhupada ki, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.